Yo, people, what is going on? This is like a Spartan Killer, and welcome to a brand new series. I'm always coming up with series. Why is there always a new series? Can't I just stick with something? No. ADHD says negative. And doing the same thing all the time gets boring. So, here is a new segment. It's kind of like a Dr. Zach, kind of like an Ask Zach, but I think I'm going to title it, How to Be an Adult. Now, the reason why I say that is because I've been talking to a few people, and we're all in agreement that the public school system and adults of today don't really teach anybody anything about how to grow up. It's normally like, hey, guess what? You're in high school, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a degree, and then you're going to work for the rest of your life, and you're going to contribute to your 401k. And that's pretty much the blueprint that everybody has in their mind. I mean, that was the blueprint that I had in my mind. And I was like, wait a second, I don't want to do that. So let's come up with a couple different questions. I had one of my creative directors, I guess you could say, her name is Aubrey. She came up with a ton of really good questions to ask me. And also, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments, and I will try to go over them as best as I can. Now, this is all just from my experience. This is all from my viewpoint. If you have another direction in your life, by all means, go for it. This is not anything that has to do in saying this is exactly what you have to do. This is just my take on it. Now, her first question is, do good high school grades actually matter? This is all about schooling and college. Now, good high school grades matter. I would say it depends. Now, the reason why I say it depends is it depends on if you're going to go into college, because I believe that good high school grades equate to sometimes you can get scholarships. Now, I took the path of doing like 2 classes in college, and I was like, yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing this. Now, I'm going to give you guys the same advice that I gave my little sister when she turned 18 and she wanted to go to school. And she wanted to go to college after high school. I said, unless you are going to be something specific, don't go into college and just start working at the bottom of a job and work your way up. Now, the reason why I say that is because sometimes people go into college and they're going to spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 without ever knowing what they're going to do. If you know for a fact that you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a nurse, or you're going to be a lawyer, go to college. You have to go to college for that stuff. If you say, I'll figure it out when I get there, you could be starting out when you turn 18 at, let's just say you start out at McDonald's, and you work up and you do a year, and next thing you know, you're a manager at McDonald's, who, by the way, they make pretty good money. And then you can transition because you have managerial experience. And now you're 21 and you're a operations manager, or you're a front-end manager of some other business. Or, you can go into like the financial sector. You could do anything you want, right? For me, I'm not a fan of going into debt when you don't know what it is that you want to do. If you want to be a doctor, yeah, you're going to go into a lot of debt. But at the end, you're going to come out being a doctor, hopefully. Right, so I gave that advice to my little sister. I said, unless you know exactly what it is that you want to do, don't go to college. Unless you're getting scholarships and you're going to get that stuff paid for. Like, she's in college right now, but she's getting almost all of it paid for because she has scholarships. So, if it's free, yeah, go for it. Why not? Get your prerequisites out of the way. Do all that stuff. But don't be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me just sign up for all these student loans, because student loans are insane. Like, I don't think if you've done any research, they are insane. They are by far the highest, highest inflating form of debt. If you can't make your payment, it's just going to keep adding on and adding on and adding on. I know some guy, when I used to work at a college, he was like 75 years old, and hush, droid, he was like 75 years old, and he was still going to college because he couldn't repay it back, and so he kept getting it deferred and deferred and deferred. So, unless you have an actual plan, take a step back and say, do I really need to go into debt for this? And you might find out. You might go into the first year at, just working at McDonald's or something, or working in a retail environment, or even just being an intern somewhere, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I really want to do this. I want to be in business development. Let me go to college and do some courses. Because you can go to trade schools. This is actually on my notes, is I wanted to talk about trade schools versus actual college. Trade schools is like being an electrician, being a welder, being, anything that's considered a trade, if you're like in construction and stuff of that nature. Those guys get paid pretty good money, and you're going to school for a short amount of time. Like I was going to get my Microsoft certification, and all I had to do was take a couple classes, and then I was going to be Microsoft certified to do stuff with computers. I feel like that's a more intelligent way to go about it, is figure out what it is that you want to do and take those specific subjects or those little classes, instead of spending, $60, $70, $80,000 on not knowing what you want to do. Or you can spend, $15,000, $20,000 and go to a community college and get all your prerequisites out of the way. You don't need to go to ASU or Harvard for your entire college career. That is stupid expensive. Unless you have money. Go for it. Do whatever you want. I just think it's not the smartest idea. Somebody texted me. Where's my phone? Oh, my phone's in my pocket. That was weird. It's a message. My mother says good night. Good night, Mother. On July 9th at 10:36 p.m. Who goes to bed at 10:36? Hi, I'm old. No, I'm just kidding. Her next question was, when should I start looking into college? So, revert to previous answer. Whenever you feel like it, whenever you say, hey, I should probably do something like this. In-state college versus out-of-state college. In-state college, you're getting... in-state college, you can get in-state college fees and tuition to where it's a little bit cheaper. I know that for like ASU or something, for each semester, it's like $7,000. I believe if you're in-state, and if you're out-of-state, it's like 11 or 10 or something. That's when I looked when I was going to college. So it definitely varies. If you can do it in-state, do it in-state, I believe. Do your prerequisites in-state, get that crazy savings on tuition, work a part-time job, work a full-time job, get that all paid for, and then go to ASU for your final huzzah and be like, oh, yeah, I graduated from ASU. And then do you actually benefit from advanced placement classes? I have no idea. That's not a road that I went down. You could, depends on what the classes are. That's all I really have to say about that. She jumped up and bit me, Lieutenant Dan. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe if it's something that you want to do. I mean, I guess maybe if you get advanced placement and you're, I guess maybe like super smart or something. Here's a good one. This is my favorite. We're going to touch on two subjects. She said college, career, finances, and health. So you guys, if you guys have come up with any questions, throw it down in the comments and I'll see if I can answer them. Now, finances. Finances are my favorite thing to talk about. I have no idea why. I am like a money nerd. Now, she has like 17 different things. She said taxes, insurance, credit union versus banks, credit cards versus debit cards, how to have good credit, how to budget, how to manage money responsibly, and buying a car versus leasing a car. Those are all really good questions. And taxes isn't a question. She's just like, taxes. Okay, well, let's talk about taxes, right? So the ones that I'm going to pick and choose from is, that scared the malarkey out of me. I think I got an aneurysm in my brain from that. Holy God, that was scary. I was about to run in the back room and grab a gun. I was like, what is happening? Or I thought the house was blowing down. Because if you guys follow me on Instagram, not AK Spartan, you'll see that I posted like 87 videos today of the storm that we had. Now, so credit unions versus banks and credit cards versus debit cards. Now, credit union versus banks. There's multitudes of these institutions everywhere, right? Now, the main thing with me is I use credit unions. I was thinking about getting a bank, but I don't really care that much. So, my thought process on credit unions versus banks is credit unions are normally, I guess you could say, cheaper. They're very lenient, whereas banks are very strict. And they don't really have that good returns. But if you're saving money and you're getting 0.02% back on your savings account. It's not doing anything for you. Now, the reason why I use credit unions is A, because they're cheaper. I use one that's open like 24/7. Or no, wait, no, it's not 24/7. But they're open 7 days a week. And they're open, I think, a majority of the day. And a lot of credit unions don't do that. I know that a lot of banks don't do that. But you can also do stuff online like bill pay and all that other stuff. I can do that same stuff with my credit union. And you'll just have to shop around for different rates. I know that some banks, if you don't have X amount of money in your account, they'll charge you a fee. Credit unions, if you don't have certain money in your account, I think it's less of a fee. Credit unions are more like a localized to a specific area. Banks are nationwide. If I say, hey, you guys know about Wells Fargo, right? You're going to know Wells Fargo. Whereas if I say, hey, you guys know Phoenix First Credit Union, you guys are going to be like, I've never heard of that. So it's a smaller, more, I guess you could say, like controlled type of aspect. I just like credit unions because I hate banks with a passion. Like, no joke. Your money is still FDIC insured in credit unions up to $250,000 from what last I heard. Banks, you get that same kind of protection. I just don't really like banks and how they have all of these fees and all of this other stuff. I can be at my credit union and pay 0 fees whatsoever. I think my credit union, you have to have like $5 in your account, and that's it. The credit union that I am going to leave, they charge me $3 a month for my checking account, and I'm going to pull my money out of there and put it in this other one because they're just like, yeah, keep your money here. We don't care. Now, credit cards versus debit cards. This is a very scary subject for a lot of people. I think credit cards and debit cards are amazing. I subscribe to the Dave Ramsey way of thinking, where it's get out of debt, do not go into debt, whatever you do. And then I have kind of a slight twist on his philosophy, where I think there is a need for good debt. But he's more along the lines of, you're here, this is you normal without any debt, and this is you having like an income, and this is you in debt. He's more along the lines of this aspect, where people who are crazy in debt and they want to get out of it and they don't know how. His way of thinking is perfect for these people. But once you get to here, you need to kind of change your mindset a little bit and say, okay, how can I do this? Like his philosophy is buy a house, get a 15-year mortgage, and put like 20% down. I don't subscribe to that philosophy because I think that you can get a house with a 30-year mortgage, lower your payments, pay bi-weekly, so that way it does bring it down, and you're not paying that much in interest, but also you're freeing up that capital to do other things with it. Like if you pay off your house, okay, that's great, but that took you X amount of years, whereas you can take that money that you were going to pay and invest that and get a better return, potentially, if you know what you're doing when you're investing. Now, credit cards is basically just like somebody loaning you money and saying, pay it back, and if you don't pay it back, then they're going to hit you with interest. So you can get a credit card with like 26% interest. As long as you're paying that off, that doesn't matter. But it's once you don't make that payment, they're going to say, okay, cool, whatever your balance is, we want 26% of whatever that balance is. Right? So let's say you have $100. They'll say, give us $26 on top of that $100. You can see where that'll add up when somebody has a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 credit limit. Now the difference is you have debit cards. Debit cards is taking money out of your own account. So if you don't have the cash to pay for it, chances are it might get declined. However, you can also get a debit/credit card. Because people are probably like, I want to talk about my credit score. You can use that debit card and you can run that as credit. You can use a debit card and you can build up your credit, or you can get a credit card and you can build up your credit. I have a credit card, and when I was first building out my credit, I was doing, I was like buying gas and then instantly paying it off. I was paying for small things like $20, $30 things, instantly paying it off. And then they'll slowly keep bumping you up, and you'll get a credit limit and credit increase and all this other stuff. Did she put credit scores on here? No, I'm gonna put credit scores on here because credit scores are a huge thing. We can talk about credit scores at a later time, but I like talking about credit scores too. Anything that has to do with finances and like financial freedom, I'm all about it. So we talked about credit unions versus banks. I'm a fan of credit unions. You can use banks. Just take a look at their fees, take a look at their terms and conditions and what it is that you need to do. Sometimes even with both of them, in order to get free checking, you have to have direct deposit going into one of the accounts. And then with credit cards and debit cards, you can use both of them. Just please, for the love of God, do not, if you have a credit card, do not spend more than what you have in your account, or at the very least like 10% of it. Because that time to pay it is going to come around, and if you don't have it, it's going to end up biting you in the butt. There is a reason why everybody who gets credit cards goes into debt. It is so easy to get a card that has a $5,000 limit on it, and you say, I have $5,000, and your bank account's sitting at 20 bucks, and you're like, I'll pay it. And then you just keep racking it up and racking it up and racking it up. Next thing you know, you have $3,000 on there, and then you have X amount of interest, and then it keeps compounding and compounding and compounding. Please do not, if you get a credit card and they start inundating you, they'll give credit cards to anybody. They'll give credit cards to dead people. They'll give credit cards to people who have a ton of debt. They don't care. They make all their money back on the interest. If you're not making your payments, you're their prime person. They'll say, yeah, we'll give you $500, and then they'll just try to get the interest back on you. Please do not overspend. That's where a lot of people get themselves into trouble, and I've helped a lot of people get out of credit card debt by teaching them the better mindset to have. Only spend what you have, and please do not empty out your bank account on a credit card because it's instantly easy. I know a lot of people carry cash because when you actually take cash out of your wallet, they've done a couple researches where they have equated that to physical pain when you take actual money out, dollar bills out, and you give it to somebody. So you can do the same thing with credit and debit cards. Just be very reasonable with your spending. And then what we can do is we can talk about taxes, we can talk about insurance. Oh, she does have good credit. And we can do credit score. Credit score is kind of the same thing. Good job. Dang, see, look at that. She's so good. And then we can talk about how to manage money responsibly. And we can do all of that stuff next time. If you guys have any questions, throw it down. Again, this is not advice. This is just my take on things. If I didn't explain something well enough, throw me another question and say, hey, can you explain this process again? And I'll see if I can break it down for you. This is just how I live my life. These are the philosophies that I subscribe to because, I mean, to me it makes sense, but to a lot of people, they're like, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, you didn't think to not spend your entire paycheck on something? Because what's going to happen in 2 months when you need that extra $1,000 to fix your car that is broken down and it needs a radiator, right? You should have an emergency fund. So I have a feeling that this How to Be an Adult is going to take a while. I think it's going to be a pretty ongoing series as long as you guys keep feeding me questions because I'm horrible at coming up with this stuff. So she gave me a pretty good list. I'll add your questions to the list. But as of right now, it looks like our time is up. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below whatever you are thinking, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!